Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Michelle Hodera, and I'm a researcher at Education Northwest. As a researcher, I focus on issues of college access and success. I'm interested in better understanding what policies and practices help students, particularly historically underserved students, enroll in and complete college. I'm the author of the study, What Were the Reach and Impact of the Oregon Promise Financial Aid Program in its first 2 years, which I will be presenting today. So Education Northwest is an education nonprofit in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. We hold the contract for the Regional Educational Laboratory Northwest. REL Northwest is one of 10 regional educational laboratories across the United States that serves their respective geographic regions. You can see in this map here, the REL Northwest region, the 5-state region. The goal of the REL program is to help states and districts use data to address important policy issues and improve educational practices and student outcomes. We provide services to local stakeholders through research partnerships. So today, during this presentation, we'll be covering why this study is important, or why the study topic is important, research questions, data and methods, findings, implications, and a reflection on the findings, and then a discussion at the end. So as you can see, we're recording this presentation, but we will not record the discussion. And I will address questions before I present the findings. So if you have any questions, you can add them to the chat, and I'll address them before I present the findings, and then as well as at the end of the presentation. So first, let's understand why this study topic is important. In the United States, gaps in college enrollment and completion based on family income have widened, resulting in increased inequality in educational attainment. This is a figure from Bailey and Donarski's work. The red line is higher than the blue line because college enrollment rates for individuals born between 1979 and 1982 are higher than college enrollment rates for individuals born between 1961 and 1964 across all income groups. But the gap in college enrollment by family income has increased. So here you see that among individuals born between 1961 and 1964, 19% of individuals from the lowest income families enrolled in college, compared to 58% of individuals in the highest income families. That is a 39 percentage point gap in college enrollment by income. Here, among individuals born between 1979 and 1982, 29% of individuals from the lowest income families enrolled in college, compared to 80% of individuals in the highest income families. That is an enormous 51 percentage point gap in college enrollment by income. This is another figure from Bailey and Donarski's work about college completion that shows the same exact pattern. Again, college completion rates have increased over time for students in every income group. So the red line's higher than the blue line, and that's because college completion has increased over time. But like college enrollment, the gap in completion by family income has increased. Among individuals born between 1979 and 1982, there's a 45 percentage point gap in college completion by income. There are serious implications for widening gaps in college enrollment and completion. We know that post-secondary education attainment offers many benefits for individuals and society, including increases in lifetime earnings and improved health outcomes, job satisfaction, and social mobility. But these benefits are not uniformly distributed because higher income students are much more likely to enroll in and complete college. We also know that financial aid is essential for expanding college access among students from low and middle income households, and research consistently demonstrates the positive effects of federal and state financial aid programs on post-secondary outcomes. Promise programs, which we'll talk about today, are relatively new financial aid models that cover all or nearly all tuition. Unlike traditional forms of financial aid in which eligibility is primarily based on merit or need, Promise programs use residency in a district, city, or state as a key eligibility criterion. Oregon was the second state in the country to implement a statewide Promise program. Oregon Promise was established by the Oregon legislature in 2015, and students entering community college in fall 2016 were the first to receive the program's awards. Oregon Promise has many distinct features from other Promise programs. So despite the growing body of evidence on Promise programs, continued evaluation of specific programs is valuable because Promise program models vary widely, and findings for one program may not generalize to other programs. So here is a box that describes the very basics of Oregon Promise. Oregon Promise award amounts are determined after students' federal Pell Grant and state Oregon Opportunity Grant aid has been applied. And the award covers the average cost of community college tuition for students who earned a cumulative GPA of 2.5 or higher. Students also have to have graduated from high school. And then to receive the award, students must enroll in one of Oregon's 17 community colleges within 6 months of completing high school. Oregon Promise is open to Oregon residents with a high school diploma or GED test credential, and students could have completed high school in public school, private school, homeschool, or correctional facility. This study focuses on public school students only. So here is an example of Oregon Promise award amounts in the first year. Oregon Promise awards range from a minimum of $1,000 up to the average tuition cost for 12 credits per term at an Oregon community college. The maximum award for a full-time student was $3,248 in the first year of the program. So Oregon Promise is the last dollar financial aid model. So that means students from higher income households tend to receive larger awards, and students from lower income households receive smaller awards. So here you see, this is a student who is from a higher income household. They're not eligible for Pell or Oregon Opportunity Grant, the state financial aid program. So they receive the maximum Oregon Promise award, which covers community college tuition based on their credit load. So that is $1,083 per term in the first year. And here is students from who are eligible for full Pell and full Oregon Opportunity Grant. They receive the minimum Oregon Promise award, which is $284 per term in the first year. So now I'm going to discuss the research questions, data, and methods. Again, if you have questions about the methods, please feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I'll answer them before I discuss the study findings. This study had 2 research questions. The first was, which public high school seniors in 2015-16 and 2016-17 did Oregon Promise reach and serve? The second was, what were the impacts of the offer of an Oregon Promise award on public high school graduates' college enrollment, first-year persistence, and longer-term persistence or completion? And we looked at 4 outcomes specifically. We examined impacts on college enrollment within 6 months, because Oregon Promise requires students to enroll in community college within 6 months to receive the award. We looked at college enrollment within 2 years, because the program might have induced students to enroll in college, regardless if they have received the award or not. And then we looked at impacts on first-year persistence, because the program requires students to continuously enroll to renew the award. And we looked at impacts on persistence or completion by 2019-20, because the program may have had longer-term positive impacts on students. So this study draws on a number of data sources. It draws on K-12 records from the Oregon Department of Education on the students who were in grade 12 in 2015-16 or 2016-17. And we had records going back to 2004, which meant we had records starting in kindergarten or first grade for many of the students in this sample. Our outcomes came from National Student Clearinghouse, and we had that up to the 2019-20 academic year. Then we had Oregon Promise application data from the Higher Education Coordinating Commission from the first 2 years of the program, and HEC administers the program. And then we had unweighted cumulative high school grade point average from 6 school districts in the Portland metro area. Portland Public Schools, Beaverton School District, Hillsborough School District, and then Forest Grove, Gresham Barlow, and Park Rose. So these districts educate over 1/5 of Oregon public school students. And I'd like to thank ODE, HEC, and the 6 districts for providing data for this study. So the current study includes all Oregon public high school seniors in those 2 years. And across those classes, there's over 24,000 applicants, over 18,000 eligible applicants who are offered an award, and over 11,000 recipients. And Jenny is going to put in the chat a definition of those 3 groups. And then samples were different for each question. I'll walk through those as we walk through the findings. So to address research question 1, we used descriptive methods, which I'll discuss as I discuss the findings. And then to address question 2, we used 2 different quasi-experimental designs that provide estimates of Oregon Promise's causal impact on student outcomes. So the main causal approach is called a regression discontinuity design. This design estimates impacts for high school graduates with grade point averages close to the 2.5 eligibility criteria. Students with GPAs just below and just above 2.5 might be very similar. So any differences in these students' post-secondary outcomes might be explained by the treatment group's eligibility for Oregon Promise. This design is limited to the Portland metro area because GPA is not collected at the state level. So we collected GPA data from districts in the Portland metro area, which has large and diverse districts. Furthermore, an expected family contribution limit was introduced in the 2nd year of the program. And so eligibility among 2016-17 seniors who applied was also based on their EFC from their free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. But we didn't have access to students' EFC, so we had to limit this question to the first cohort, or the 2015-16 high school graduates. So to explore potential program impacts with a larger sample, we used an exploratory approach. This allows us to compare findings across the 2 different methods. We used a match comparison group design to compare the outcomes of high school graduates who are eligible applicants to similar peers who did not apply. And there were 3 different analyses that examined outcomes for Portland metro area high school graduates who were eligible applicants compared to similar peers who did not apply. We accounted for grade point average. Then we did the same exact analysis, taking out grade point average to see how those findings would change. And then we did the analysis for all Oregon public high school graduates in the state who were eligible applicants compared to similar peers who did not apply. And we couldn't account for grade point average in the last analysis because we didn't have GPA for everyone. So to recap, there are a couple limitations of the impact study. The main approach is rigorous, but it only includes students who graduated from public schools in the Portland metro area in 2015-16 with a GPA close to 2.5. It's a small sample and the results may not generalize to other students. To support the findings from the main approach, the exploratory approach used a matched comparison group design that is less rigorous but has greater generalizability. These findings pertain to all high school graduates in the state. So before I discuss the findings, I'm just going to check the chat and see if there's any questions to make sure I can address any questions you have before I move on to the findings. Okay, doesn't look like there's any questions, so we can address anything that comes up for you at the end as well. So as a reminder, the first main research question is, which public high school seniors in 2015-16 and 2016-17 did Oregon Promise reach and serve? So the study first addressed the following sub-question to assess program reach. How were the demographic characteristics and school locale of Oregon Promise applicants similar to or different from the characteristics of all Oregon public high school seniors? So nearly 1/4 of public high school seniors applied for Oregon Promise in the first 2 years of the program. And this table shows you some of the characteristics of all seniors and all applicants. We found that Oregon Promise applicants did reflect the demographic composition of Oregon high school seniors in these 2 years. So for example, You can see here that 68% of all seniors and 69% of all applicants were ever eligible for free or reduced price lunch in K-12. The only large differences between applicants and seniors occurred by gender and special education status. Applicants were more likely to be female than male, and this reflects the fact that females are more likely to apply for and attend college compared to males. And applicants were less likely to have received special education services in K-12 compared to all seniors. Applicants were also slightly more likely to be former English learner students who were reclassified before high school than all seniors. Next, we asked, how did the number, percentage, and characteristics of applicants, eligible applicants, and recipients vary in the first and second years of the program? So as I noted, an expected family contribution limit is added to Oregon Promise in years where there is a budget shortfall. The EFC comes from students' FAFSA and is a measure of a family's financial strength and an estimate of what a family might be expected to pay for college. In the second year of the program, Oregon Promise introduced an EFC limit. Only students with an EFC below $20,000 were eligible for awards. After the second year of the program, HEC removed the EFC limit and funded all eligible applicants in subsequent years. The EFC limit was implemented again for students entering college in 2020-21 in response to state budget cuts during the COVID-19 global pandemic. So these findings show us what happens to the composition of applicants, eligible applicants, and recipients when an EFC limit is introduced. So there's a similar number of Oregon Promise applicants in the first and second year of the program, but fewer eligible applicants and recipients in the second year, and they were more likely to be from low-income households and to be students of color. Specifically, you can see in this figure that in the second year of the program, 76% of eligible applicants were ever eligible for free or reduced price lunch, compared to 66% of eligible applicants in the first year. And 61% of eligible applicants were persistently eligible for free or reduced price lunch 3 years in a row, compared to 50% of eligible applicants in the first year. 39% of eligible applicants were students of color in the second year, compared to 34% in the first year. And 19% of eligible applicants were former English learner students in the second year, compared to 16% in the first year. There are also large differences in these characteristics between recipients in the first and second years of the program. All other differences between eligible applicants and recipients in the first and second years were negligible. So in the first and second years of the program, most recipients were from households that were low income at some point during their K-12 enrollment, regardless of their award amount. So here you see that in the first and second years of the program, about 90% of Oregon Promise recipients who received the minimum award were ever eligible for free or reduced price lunch. These are students who received full Pell. And you can see a large subset of these students, represented by the orange color in the bars, were persistently eligible for free or reduced price lunch 3 years in a row. Okay, that's the full Pell students there. And then the students who received no Pell, you can see in the first year of the program, half were eligible for free or reduced price lunch. And then this percentage increased to 64% in the second year of the program. So what this tells us is that in both the first and second years of the program, the state provided the maximum award to students who might have had financial need that was not met by Pell Grants or Oregon Opportunity Grants, since those students didn't receive any of those grants, but they did receive Oregon Promise. So next, using grade point average data from districts in the Portland metro area, this study explores how the number and characteristics of potential applicants might be expected to change if the GPA eligibility requirement were lowered. So data from the Portland metro area suggests that lowering the grade point average requirement would have potentially increased the size of the applicant pool. we estimated the applicant pool would have increased by 19% in the Portland metro area. Decreasing the GPA requirement to 2.0 could have also changed the composition of the applicant pool, potentially increasing the percent of applicants who are male students, students of color, students from low-income households, and students who receive special education services. Decreasing the GPA requirement to 2.0 also could have increased the percentage of applicants who were ever in a migrant education program, who are former English learner students and current English learner students, although by a smaller amount. So our last descriptive question was, among recipients in the first year of the program, what percentage renewed their award for 2 years, and how did their high school outcomes compare to recipients who only received an award in their first year? To renew their award, recipients had to continuously enroll in at least 6 credits per term in the fall, winter, and spring terms of college, maintain satisfactory academic progress, and complete a first-year experience at their community college. So this question examines differences in recipients by whether they renewed their award or not. So in the first year of the program, just over half of recipients renewed their Oregon Promise Award and received it for a second year at community college. Recipients who renewed their award had better attendance, fewer suspensions or expulsions, and greater participation in college credit opportunities during high school than those who only received an award in their first year at community college. But these groups had similar test scores. So here you can see the gray bars are the students who renewed their award. The orange are students who had the award only in their first year, but for multiple terms. And the blue bar are recipients who only had the award in the first term only. And you can see that students who renewed their award in high school had higher high school attendance, lower suspensions or expulsions, and were more likely to participate in dual credit. But on the other hand, regardless of award duration, so 1 term, 1 year only, or 2 years, test scores were similar. So between 79 and 82% of recipients met state standards in math, and between 90 and 92% of recipients met state standards in reading. So finally, let's look at the findings that address the causal question. What were the impacts of the offer of an award on public high school graduates' college enrollment, first-year persistence, and longer-term persistence or completion? And we're going to look at these findings in a number of different ways. So the main approach found that Oregon Promise had a positive effect on post-secondary outcomes. For 2015-16, public high school graduates in the Portland metro area with grade point averages close to 2.5, the offer of an award had a positive impact on persistence to the end of the first year of college and still being enrolled in college or completing college by 1920. However, the estimated impacts of Oregon Promise are imprecise because they fall within a large range of values. And we'll look at this in a few slides. The exploratory approach also found that Oregon Promise had a positive impact on post-secondary outcomes. In the Portland metro area, compared to a matched group of peers with similar GPAs who did not apply, students who were offered an award were 21 percentage points more likely to enroll in college within 6 months, 18 percentage points more likely to enroll in college within 2 years, 11 percentage points more likely to persist to the end of the first year of college, and 7 percentage points more likely to still be enrolled in college or have completed college by 2019-20. Now let's look at all the findings across approaches. So here are the mean estimated impacts across the different approaches used in this study. So the main approach, again, are results from the regression discontinuity design. This design examines post-secondary outcomes for students right around the 2.5 GPA. And it looks at students right above the 2.5 GPA eligibility and right below. The sample of students had GPAs between 2.26 and 2.74. The exploratory approach results are from the match comparison group design. And you can see this design had 3 different samples, Portland Metro, where we accounted for GPA, Portland Metro, where we didn't account for GPA, and the state sample. and the results are similar across all 3 samples, although the results where we aren't using GPA may be overstated because of potential differences in the GPAs of the treatment and comparison group. So this figure shows the range and impact estimates by design. You can see that the exploratory approach has more precise estimates, so the line is very short around the exact estimate, while the main approach has a large range of estimates. So what this means is that the main approach found that students in the Portland metro area with GPAs right above 2.5 who were offered an Oregon Promise Award were 48 percentage points more likely to persist to the end of their first year in college compared to their peers with GPAs right below 2.5, but the impact estimates range from 2 to 93. The large range in the estimated impact of Oregon Promise means that while the offer of an award has a positive impact on students' outcomes, the exact size of the effect on the outcomes is unclear, likely due to the relatively small sample of students used in this analysis. The exploratory approach with the statewide sample found that students across the state who were offered an Oregon Promise Award were 13 percentage points more likely to persist to the end of their first year in college compared to similar students who did not apply. And the impact estimate ranges from 12 to 14. So here are the estimates for college persistence or completion. So again, you can see a large range of estimates for the main approach and a smaller range in estimates for the exploratory approach. So to interpret this, the main approach found that students in the Portland metro area with GPAs right above 2.5 who were offered an Oregon Promise Award were 46 percentage points more likely to still be enrolled in college or have completed college by 2019-20 compared to peers with GPAs right below 2.5. And the impact estimates range from 2 to 89. The exploratory approach with the statewide sample found that students across the state who were offered an Oregon Promise Award were 10 percentage points more likely to persist or have completed college by 2019-20 compared to similar students who did not apply. And the impact estimates range from 9 to 11. So now I'll discuss the implications. So first, the program's positive impacts on recipients with GPAs just above the 2.5 eligibility cutoff provide evidence that policymakers can use when deciding whether to continue to invest in Oregon Promise. The exploratory approach led to consistent findings, providing further confidence in the findings about the program's positive impacts. That the program had positive impacts for some students may provide evidence for expanding the program by reducing the eligibility requirement, though more research would be needed to confirm whether positive impacts persist. While Oregon Promise reached a diverse group of students in the first 2 years of the program, changing program requirements and additional outreach may broaden its reach. High school counselors and other staff may want to consider how to increase application rates among male students and students who receive special education services, since those groups of students were underrepresented among applicants in the first 2 years of the program. In addition, evidence from the Portland metro area suggests that lowering the GPA requirement may increase applicants who are male students, students of color, students from low-income households, and students who receive special education services. And finally, in the first year of the program, we saw that just over half of recipients renewed their Oregon Promise Award, and almost half did not. Many of the students who did not renew were not enrolled in college 2 years later. The high school experiences of recipients who renewed their award provide 2 potential areas of investigation for us to understand how to support prospective and current recipients. First, one area to explore is how and if college coursework in high school can support recipients' renewal of their award and college persistence. This study found that recipients who renewed their award were more likely to have participated in dual credit while in high school compared to recipients who did not renew. Similarly, an earlier study in Oregon found that participating in accelerated learning coursework in high school is related to post-secondary enrollment and persistence. And Jenny will put a link to that study in the chat. A second area to investigate is the role of non-academic skills and experiences in both high school and college. This study found that recipients who renewed their award had better high school attendance, but similar academic achievement compared to recipients who did not renew. Increasing evidence shows that financial aid programs that also include a focus on non-academic skills may have a larger impact than financial aid alone. Oregon Promise recipients are required to participate in a first-year experience provided by their community college, and some have access to college success coaches. While the study did not explore recipients' experiences, services like college success courses and coaches could potentially support recipients' renewal of their Oregon Promise Award and college persistence. So thank you. So we're going to stop the recording now, and I'll answer questions about the study. We have